What is up, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls? We are here. We have finally made it. Tomorrow is college football week 0. Can you believe that? We have finally made it. We have Florida State versus Georgia Tech in Dublin. We have SMU at Nevada. Those are probably, I'd say, the two biggest games tomorrow. But the main one being Florida State versus Georgia Tech in Dublin, Ireland. College game day is going to be there. It's an exciting time. It's an exciting time for those that love college football. Now, in today's episode, we have the last conference preview, Big 12. Then I'm going to go over week 0. I'm going to go over Florida State versus Georgia Tech, SMU versus Nevada. I'll give my game picks for both of them. And we'll preview both of those games, mainly Florida State versus Georgia Tech, and then we'll just round off with SMU versus Nevada at the end. And then I will tell you what the two episodes next week are going to look like. But let's just hop right into it. Let's not use any more fluff. Let's not waste any more time. Let's jump right into it. Big 12. An interesting conference, just like the ACC. Hard to predict in a way. Not as hard to predict, in my opinion, as the ACC, but there's just a ton of interesting teams in that dark horse area. But we'll start off with the worst team in the Big 12. And to me, and probably to a lot of people, I think that is the Cincinnati Bearcats. I actually don't think it is Houston. I know I said a lot of people probably think this. People are probably between Houston and Cincinnati as far as who they think's the worst. I'm sure there are some people that choose Colorado, and I don't hate that answer either, but I'm going with Cincinnati. I think Scott Satterfield is a bum. I think he's trash as a head coach. And I just don't think there's really many winnable games. I mean, honestly, that Houston at Cincinnati game might, whoever wins, you're not the worst team in the Big 12. The loser is. So there you go. Congratulations. But, they can beat Towson. They can beat Miami of Ohio, who their head coach this week claimed Alabama illegally recruited their kicker. So ironic that they're on this schedule. But they have a game against Pitt that they'll probably lose, although Pitt's not very good either. Then they have that Houston game early on in the season. I mean, that is just the battle of who's the worst. At Texas Tech, loss. At UCF, loss. Arizona State's not very good, but I think they're better than you. At Colorado, again, Colorado's not very good, but they're better than you, and they're at home. West Virginia loss, at Iowa State loss, at Kansas State loss, TCU loss. I mean, they'll win probably 3 games if they beat Houston. Could they pull one out against a Pitt, against the Arizona State, against a Colorado? Maybe. I wouldn't bet on it. If I was a betting man, if you put a gun to my head and said, Grayson, predict how many games Cincinnati's going to win this upcoming season. Max I'm going is 3. I might say 2. The only ones being Towson and Miami of Ohio. I think this team's just not very good. Doesn't have a ton of talent, and I just don't love the head coaching hire. I didn't love when they did it. I still don't love it. I don't think I'm ever going to love it. That's just the reality of the situation for Cincinnati. Most disappointing. Is this any surprise what I'm about to say? Is it any surprise? Colorado. I have watched way too many media personalities claim once again that this Colorado team's going to surprise people, that they're going to win, 7 games. They ride the fence is what they do, because they say, I can see Colorado winning 7 or 8 games. So that way, when it doesn't happen, they can be like, well, I just said I could see it. Like that was the max. But really, I thought this. And I hate when they do that, and it happens way too often. I just don't understand people who think this team's making a bowl game. I can't, for the life of me, find 5 wins. I can't. I've gone over this schedule before, but we'll go over it again so I could just reiterate the point. North Dakota State as your first game is a trap. It is such a trap. But for the sake of this, let's give them the win. At Nebraska, you're not winning. At Colorado State, once again, trap. But for the sake of it, we'll give you the win. Baylor, I think you could beat Baylor. Baylor's not very good. Do I think they're better than you? Maybe. But because you're at home, we'll give it to you. At UCF, you're not winning. Kansas State, you're not winning. At Arizona, you're not winning. Cincinnati, you could win. I'd probably pick you to beat Cincinnati. You're at home, and Cincinnati's trash, as I just talked about. At Texas Tech, I don't think Texas Tech is great, but I think they're better than you, and they're at home. So I would take Texas Tech. And then you're not beating Utah. You're not beating Kansas. You're not beating Oklahoma State. So looking at what I just said, going through this, North Dakota State, Colorado State, Baylor, Cincinnati. 4. And only one of those I was confident in saying you would win. And that was the Cincinnati game on October 26th. I'm not confident you can beat Baylor at home. I'm certainly not confident that you. How could I be confident that you're going to beat Colorado State at Colorado State when you were at home last year, major favorites, and you almost lost? And then North Dakota State, how could I feel confident about that? How could I feel confident that you will just, this North Dakota State, Colorado's obviously going to win. How can I be confident about that? North Dakota State's a great team. Yes, they're on the FCS level, but they're still a great team. And if you just come out lackadaisical, you're going to get a reality check real quick. I don't understand how anyone sees 6 wins. I mean, I would give 5 max. Let's say they win those 4, and then what would be the other one they would win? I guess Texas Tech. I mean, I just don't see that though. And another problem you have is every team that you show up to play against is going to want to beat you because of the attention around the program, around the tension you bring, all of that. And they know that it'll bring so much attention to them if they beat you. And so I don't like that for Colorado either. I feel like they're going to get everyone's best effort. I don't see how anyone expects 6 wins. The team's just not good enough. The team is not good enough. Shadur is a good player. Travis Hunter is a great player. But it stops there. That's the reality. Whether you want to admit it or not. For my most surprising, I feel like this has become less surprising as we've come closer to the season. But I have Iowa State. Iowa State has a lot of returning production, and they're a boring team to watch. But they're going to be a good team this year. They're going to be a threat to win the Big 12. They'll beat North Dakota's. I almost said North Dakota State. It's just North Dakota. They're going to beat North Dakota. Iowa, that'll be a good game for sure. It'll be a real test to see how Iowa's offense is early on. You'll beat Arkansas State. You'll beat Houston. You'll beat Baylor. West Virginia, that'll be a good game. UCF should be a good game, a team that should have a really good offense against a team that should have a really good defense. Texas Tech, I'd probably pick you to win. At Kansas, that'd be a good one. I'd probably pick Kansas, though. I think Kansas is a good team this year. Cincinnati win, and then you'll probably lose the last two, unfortunately, because you end with Utah and Kansas State. But, this team could, easily be an 8, 9 win team, 10 win team even. I could see 10 wins for Iowa State. 100% I could. I don't think it goes more than that, but which is why I don't think they're going to make the Big 12 championship. But, all the returning production, this is an older team, and I think that's going to bode well for them in the Big 12. Dark horse. Who do I think is going to be the dark horse? I talked about this team during when I was just talking about with Iowa State. I have Kansas as the dark horse. I was so tempted to put Kansas in the Big 12 championship game. I really was, because I think this team is good and I think they have a favorable schedule. I think they face 3 of the 4 worst teams. I mean, heck, 4 of the 5 worst teams maybe in the Big 12. They don't play Utah. They start off against Lindenwood, whoever that is. Their out-of-conference game is Illinois, at Illinois, but I don't think Illinois has the talent to beat you. Imagine saying that about Kansas 5 years ago, by the way. UNLV is not good enough to beat you, but UNLV is good. West Virginia, there's a lot of hype about West Virginia going into this season, and I think it's deserved, but I don't think they're good enough to beat Kansas. TCU's an interesting one. They're a team not a lot of people are talking about, which I think is right where you want to be if you're TCU. But Kansas at home, I'll pick Kansas. Arizona State's, they just don't have the talent right now. Houston's bad. This little back-to-back stretch, October 26th, November 9th, is really where you're going to find out about this Kansas team. I think they could be undefeated coming in these 2 games. You have at Kansas State and then home against Iowa State. That's going to tell you all you need to know about this Kansas team. I think they could win both. I think they could lose both. I think they could split. At BYU, I think BYU's not going to be very good this year. Colorado, I just talked about them. And at Baylor, Baylor's not going to be good this year. So I think you end on 3 pretty easy wins for the most part. But it's that Kansas State game and it's that Iowa State game that's going to tell you everything you need to know. And if they win both of them, you'll probably see them in the Big 12 championship game. But speaking of the Big 12 championship game, I have the loser of the Big 12 championship game being Kansas State, the Wildcats. Again, I think it's a favorable schedule simply because they don't play Utah. They start off with UT Martin, win at Tulane. Tulane's not bad, and it's interesting that they're at Tulane, but I'd give Kansas State the win. Arizona's going to be a tough one, that's for sure. I love Noah Fifita. Oh my gosh, how do you even say it? McMillan. I'm just going to say his last name. I'm not even going to bother. That's the wide receiver for Arizona, by the way. At BYU, that should be a win. Oklahoma State, that's another one. Oklahoma State's always feisty, always not fun to play, especially when they have Ollie Gordon. Colorado win. West Virginia probably a win. Kansas, again, that's going to be a big game. Houston win. Arizona State win. Cincinnati win. End on Iowa State. That's not a fun one to end off on at all if you're Kansas State. But I think you're more talented than Kansas State. Or sorry, than Iowa State. The problem with Kansas State's schedule is they have two teams on here that can be annoying, really annoying. And it's Arizona on September 13th, Oklahoma State on September 28th. Now, you have them both at home, but they're two teams that could spoil a lot for Kansas State if they beat Kansas State. Me personally, do I think Kansas State goes undefeated? No, I think they'll probably have one or two losses. Um, One of those could easily be that Arizona or Oklahoma State game, and Kansas could be one as well. But I like this Kansas State team. I just think that there's one team in this conference. You could probably guess who it is. That's just, I think they're far and above, and that's Utah. Utah has a favorable schedule, and it's the quarterback. They're bringing back Cam Rising. He's like 50 years old, and that is always going to be a plus. And Utah is a well-coached team, and I think they're in a conference that they can dominate. They just need to not slip up like they always do, because they could go through this schedule undefeated. They really could. They have the talent to do it. They play Southern Utah, win. Baylor, win. Utah State, win. Oklahoma State will be annoying like they always are. Arizona will be annoying like they always are. And you have them back to back. Don't love that, but you're better than both of those teams, especially Arizona. I think you're far better than Arizona, as much as I love Noah Fifita. Arizona State, win. TCU, win. Houston, win. BYU, win. Colorado, win. Iowa State's annoying, but you have them at home. And UCF could be one of those annoying teams as well. But again, I think you're just far better than them. I'm not a believer in KJ Jefferson. I wasn't when he was at Arkansas getting all the hype. I'm not now, even with the Gus bus. I don't care if Gus wants to make him the new Cam Newton. I don't care. Utah could go through this schedule undefeated, and they could win their conference championship game, and they could be one of those spots in the playoff, 100%. And as far as the playoff is concerned, those predictions will be next week. Still working some things out, finalizing some things, looking through it a little bit more. I think I'm going to have very interesting predictions. A lot of people think 5 SEC teams, or 4 SEC, 4 Big Ten. And I understand that mindset. But I just got to go with who I think the really good teams are, mixed with their schedules. And there'll definitely be a few surprises in that playoff for sure. But that'll be next week. But that's the Big 12. Went through it fairly quickly because I gotta get to week 0. I got to. This is football. This is football. Okay? This is what it's all about. Okay? Florida State versus Georgia Tech. We'll start there. In Dublin. I think this is such an interesting week 0 game because it tells you immediately about both of them. It tells you, okay, how much better is Georgia Tech getting? And it tells you, okay, is Florida State the real deal this season? How's DJU look? How's this transfer portal mania Florida State team look? It's going to tell you and show you immediately. And look, Georgia Tech has quite a bit of transfers as well. But they have a lot of returning pieces as well. to go with that. With Georgia Tech, you start with the quarterback, Haynes King, who's really coming to his own at Georgia Tech after not being very good at Texas A&M. And while I think he's fine, I think people overrate him a tad. You know, people are like, oh, Haynes King, he's like actually really good. Okay, calm down, buddy. Calm down, buddy. He's solid. And, you know, he's going to have to kind of lead this team to, if they're going to win this game, it's got to be because of him. Because they don't have the talent to really stack up against Florida State. But we saw them last year. They beat a Miami team that was much better than them talent-wise. Now, granted, that's because Miami might be quite possibly one of the dumbest mistakes of all time. But they won nonetheless. And if you look at this Florida State team, it's a lot different than it was last year. There's no Jared Verse. There's no Braden Fisk. There's no Trey Benson. There's no Johnny Wilson. There's no Keon Coleman. I can't believe. Oh, Jordan Travis. His mind left my mind for a sec. His name left my mind for a second. Goodness, can't even talk. No Jordan Travis. And there's more. A lot of new faces. But, you know, you bring in DJU. You bring in Roydell Williams from Alabama. You didn't bring in Patrick Payton. You have Patrick Payton. You bring in Marvin Jones Jr. from Georgia, who a lot of Florida State fans seem to be high on, even though he didn't play much at Georgia. But what do I know? You still have Fentrell Cypress II. There's still really good pieces. Are there as many good pieces as there was last year? No, there's not. But is it enough to win this game? Yeah, easily. Is it enough to win the ACC? Yeah. Is it enough to win a natty? No. Although I'm sure Florida State fans don't want to hear that. This team has to come out in Dublin and dominate this Georgia Tech team if they want to be taken seriously. They have to. And if they lose, oh, buddy, watch out. Because there's going to be a fire in Tallahassee and on social media. As far as my prediction, maybe this will come across as too safe of a prediction. But you know what? I want to be right. I'm going to pick Florida State to win against Georgia Tech. Should I do a score prediction for these? I wonder if I should do a score prediction for every pick. I probably won't. I'm just going to pick Florida State. Also because I picked Florida State in my ACC preview to win the ACC. So if they lose their first game to Georgia Tech in Dublin, it's going to get real awkward. It's going to get real awkward on here. Might have to retire early, but you know, it is what it is. College Game Day will be in Dublin as well with celebrity guest picker WWE superstar Sheamus. For those that don't know, I am a massive WWE fan, so hearing Sheamus is going to be the guest picker, love to hear it. Love to hear it. Love my boy Shamo. But yeah, it's gonna be so surreal waking up Saturday, turning on the TV, you see College Game Day, and you're just gonna feel so good, and you're just gonna feel like you're just so back. And then you're gonna see kickoff between Florida State, Georgia Tech, and oh man, it's gonna hit you. It's just gonna hit you like a freight train. There's a few other games. By the way, can we talk about that? How Delaware, I think it's Delaware, is playing Hawaii, and Delaware missed their flight, and it's a 10.5 hour flight. Like, what are we doing? That's how you know college football is back, though. That's how you know. I mean, I wasn't going to watch that game anyways, but because I love college football, but that does not mean I literally I'm going to watch every single game. I'm not going to watch Delaware versus Hawaii. I'm not. I'll watch the games that I feel matter. Like I'll watch Florida State, Georgia Tech. I'll watch SMU, Nevada. You know, and speaking of SMU, Nevada, that's another one where we're really going to get to see, SMU's first game in the ACC, how they look. Now they're on the road at Nevada, and as someone who on NCAA College Football 25, Nevada was my first online dynasty team. My first online dynasty rebuild was Nevada with a group of guys. Back-to-back national champions, by the way, just so you know. So I have a infatuation with Nevada, I will admit. But I also understand because I played as them. I looked at their roster, and I know their roster. That they're, how do I put it, kind of garbage. And look, there's good things on this team. I like Brendan Lewis. I like Sean Dollars and Savion Red. I like Isaiah World, their left tackle. I like their receivers are fine. Jaden Smith, Cortez Bram Jr., they're fine. And defensively, I think is where they're really going to struggle, though. I think defensively, they're not very good. They brought in some transfers. They brought in Keaton Crawford. They brought in Caden Johnson. And they have some pieces. They have Drew Watts, who I like. They have, oh gosh, how do we say his name? Tangiaki Matayalona? Low-key, I think I nailed that, but I like him well, he's not middle linebacker, he's weak side linebacker. But not a ton there, really, that you like. They brought in Keyshawn Cobb. I mean, it's just kind of, it's a rebuild, really. It's really what it is. It's their new head coach. I think he's going to be a heavy transfer portal guy. And it's just going to be really interesting to see how they look. They're at home. Do they have a chance to do something? I don't think so. I'm picking SMU to win this game. They're too talented for Nevada. Now, as far as SMU is concerned, obviously, quarterback Preston Stone, he's a really good player. Redshirt junior. This SMU team has a real chance to come out and, put their foot on Nevada's throat and show the college football world, show the ACC that they're here to stay, that they're here to dominate, that they're a serious threat. And I think SMU is a serious threat in the ACC. And I think they're definitely going to be for some time, for sure. I don't think SMU should have ever not been in a Power 5 conference, now Power 4. And so I'm happy that they're back on this level. And I'm just really excited to see how this SMU team looks, how Preston Stone looks, and see if they can just get themselves some early momentum, same as Florida State, and just carry it. Just carry it. But, I'll have my eyes locked in on Georgia Tech, Florida State. I'll have my eyes locked in on SMU, Nevada. I might watch, I think it's Montana State versus New Mexico as well. I might watch that game as well. New Mexico, not a very good team. I think Montana State actually will win that game, but I can't believe we're here. I cannot believe we're here at week 0. Now, next week, there will be 2 episodes. Again, one on Tuesday, one on Friday. On Tuesday, let me check my notes real quick. Tuesday I will be reviewing Florida State versus Georgia Tech and anything else. Maybe I'll review SMU Nevada, depending on how that game goes. But I'll definitely review Florida State versus Georgia Tech. I'll give my playoff predictions. And I think that is all I will do that day. I might add something else on that day. I might add like week 1 preview, something like that. And then on Friday, the day before week 1, I will be giving some game picks. Actually, you know what? On Tuesday, I will be giving week 1 game picks because of all the games on Thursday and Friday. Because I originally had it there and I was like, why is that there instead of Friday? It's because of all the games on Thursday and Friday. So on Tuesday, I'll also give some week 1 game picks. And then on that Friday, August 30th, I will be reviewing probably the Thursday night games that happen. And I will also be giving week 2 game picks. Now, the reason I'm doing week 1 and week 2 game picks, predictions, whatever you want to call them, before week 1 is because that week from week 1 to week 2, I will be gone on vacation with my family. So I will not be able to record any episodes and put them out to you guys. So I'm just going to go ahead and give my week 2 game picks before I leave. And then, after the August 30th episode, I'll be, hitting the ground running again on September 9th, where I'll review week 1 and week 2 in totality. And then from that point on, shouldn't have many stoppages as far as episodes coming out. It'll still be 2 a week for the entire season unless I just get the urge to just keep pumping them out. But we'll see. That is all I have for today. I hope everyone enjoys watching college football tomorrow. I know I will. And I will be here uploading another video on Tuesday. Week 1 game picks, playoff predictions. We'll talk about what happened with Florida State, Georgia Tech, and I will see you there. Y'all have a great day.